had no idea what I was about to walk into that night. Jessica told me she had a work dinner. She tossed it out casually over breakfast, not even looking up from her phone. I almost didn't think twice about it. Almost. Maybe it was the way she said it. Too smooth. Too rehearsed. Maybe it was the fact that she had suddenly started caring about her appearance in a way she never did before, wearing dresses that hadn't seen the outside of the closet in years, putting on lipstick just to go to the grocery store. Or maybe it was the way she didn't ask me about my evening plans, which she always used to do. I didn't press her. I just nodded, sipped my coffee, and let her believe I was as clueless as she wanted me to be. By 7:30 p.m., she was out the door, smelling like expensive perfume and secrets. I waited exactly 10 minutes before grabbing my keys and following her. I didn't know what I expected to find. Maybe I hoped she really was at dinner with coworkers, sipping cocktails and complaining about office politics. Maybe I wanted to catch her in something innocent so I could laugh at myself for being paranoid. But deep down, I already knew. She wasn't at any restaurant. She wasn't with her colleagues. She was with him. And the moment I saw them together, I knew this night would change everything. She thought she was so smart. She thought she had it all figured out. Jessica drove across town, taking turns that made no sense for a simple dinner. I kept a safe distance, my hands steady on the wheel, my heart anything but. She wasn't rushing, wasn't worried, because in her mind, I was at home, oblivious, probably watching TV like the fool she assumed I was. Then she pulled into the parking lot of the Redwood Inn, a motel, a cheap, forgettable place on the edge of town. The kind of place people go when they don't want to be seen. I parked on the street, watching as she stepped out of her car. She was dressed up. Tight black dress, heels she never wore around me anymore. She checked her reflection in the side mirror, fixing her hair, running her tongue over her teeth. A habit she had before a kiss. Then he arrived. A silver BMW pulled up beside her. The driver didn't even turn off the engine before stepping out. Tall, well-dressed, confident. He walked up to her like he owned her, like this was routine, and she beamed at him, smiled like a woman in love, like a woman who had completely forgotten she had a husband. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my fingers ached. They exchanged a few words, laughing at something. Then she grabbed his wrist, pulling him toward the motel entrance. Not a second of hesitation. No looking around. No guilt. I could have confronted them right there. Could have walked up, said her name, watched the color drain from her face. But that was too easy, too quick. She had been planning this for months. She thought she was untouchable. She thought she was in control. So I let them go inside. And then I waited. I didn't have to wait long. After 10 minutes, my phone rang. Jessica. I answered, keeping my voice steady. Hey babe, she said, casual as ever. Just checking in. I'm still at dinner, but I'll probably be home late. You don't have to wait up. She thought I was home. Thought I was sitting on our couch, clueless, while she played house with another man. I almost laughed. Instead, I said, no problem. Have fun. And then I hung up, stepped out of my car, and walked toward the motel. I stood outside the motel room door, listening. Muted voices, low laughter, the occasional shuffle of movement. She was in there, completely comfortable, completely unbothered. My heart wasn't racing. My hands weren't shaking. I felt something colder, sharper, clarity. I had two choices. I could barge in, yell, demand answers she'd never honestly give me. Or I could be smarter than her, more patient, more ruthless. I pulled out my phone. I scrolled through our old messages, finding the ones where she told me she loved me, the ones where she promised she was just working late, just busy, just tired. Lies, every single one. And then I went to my camera. One deep breath. Then I knocked. Silence. I knocked again, harder this time. The voices inside stopped. Footsteps. Then Jessica's voice, slightly muffled. Who is it? I didn't answer. A pause. A shuffle. Then the door cracked open, just an inch. Jessica's face appeared, half hidden behind the chain lock. Her hair was slightly messy, her lipstick slightly smudged. She saw me, and for the first time in years, I saw real fear in her eyes. She tried to shut the door, but I shoved my foot into the gap before she could. Don't, I said, my voice even. Her face went pale. What are you doing here? I tilted my head, staring at her. Not at the dress I bought her, now clinging to her like some cruel joke. Not at the guilty way she wrapped her arms around herself. Just at her. At the woman I thought I knew. And then, from behind her, his voice. "Jess? Who is it?" She flinched. Her whole body tensed. Like she could stop the world from turning if she just stood still enough. I smiled. And then I pulled out my phone. I held up the screen, playing back the video I had just taken. The one where she kissed him in the parking lot. The one where she dragged him inside like I didn't exist. Jessica's breath hitched. "Oh my God," she whispered. I nodded. "Yeah. Oh my God." Then I stepped back and let the door swing fully open. I wanted him to see me. I wanted him to know exactly who I was. And when our eyes met, I saw it. That flicker of recognition. That brief, delicious moment where he realized exactly how much he had just screwed up. I didn't need to hit him. I didn't need to yell. Because the way Jessica sucked in a breath, the way her whole body tensed like she was about to collapse, that was enough. "Keep going," I told her, voice sharp. "Lie to me again. Tell me you were at dinner." She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her fingers twitched like she wanted to reach for me, like she thought she could fix this. Too late. I gave her one last look. "Have fun." Then I turned around and walked away. She didn't call my name. She didn't chase me. And that silence? That was the loudest answer she ever gave me. I didn't drive home. I didn't call anyone. I didn't even let myself feel anything. Not yet. Instead, I went somewhere Jessica would never expect me to be. Ashley's apartment. I knocked once, and a few seconds later, the door swung open. Ashley stood there in sweatpants, a wine glass in hand, blinking at me like I had just materialized out of thin air. "Ryan?" she said, surprised. What's up?" I stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. "Jessica's not with you tonight, is she?" Ashley frowned. "What? No, I haven't seen her since." Then she froze. The realization hit her all at once. Her eyes widened, and she set her wine down carefully, like she suddenly needed both hands free to process this. "She told you she was with me, didn't she?" I just nodded. Ashley inhaled sharply, rubbing her face. That lying God. I knew something was off. She's been weird for months. I asked her straight up if she was cheating, and she laughed like I was crazy. Of course she had. Jessica thought she was untouchable. Thought no one would ever put the pieces together. Ashley studied me carefully, then sighed. "Okay, sit down. Tell me everything." So I did. I told her about the motel, the video, the look on Jessica's face when she saw me at the door. I laid it all out, every ugly detail. And as I spoke, something in Ashley's expression shifted. She wasn't just shocked. She wasn't just pissed. She was guilty. "There's something you're not telling me?" I said, narrowing my eyes. Ashley hesitated. Then, after a long pause, she said, "This isn't the first time." A slow, cold wave of rage spread through me. "Excuse me?" Ashley bit her lip, looking away. "Ryan, I didn't have proof, and I didn't want to be the one to break your heart if I was wrong. But months ago, she slipped up. She told me she was working late, but I ran into one of her coworkers that night, and they said she left early." She exhaled sharply. I confronted her about it. She got defensive, told me to stay out of her marriage. I wanted to believe she wouldn't do this to you. But after a while, I stopped asking because I think part of me already knew. I let her words settle, my fingers pressing into my palms. Months. She had been doing this for months. Lying to my face, using her best friend as a cover, probably laughing behind my back about how easily she got away with it. Jessica was smart, calculated. She didn't just fall into this affair. She built it. Ashley sighed. "Ryan, I know this is God. I don't even have words. But what are you going to do?" I looked at her, voice steady. "End it." She nodded. "Good. You deserve better." I did. And for the first time all night, I felt something close to peace. Jessica thought she had the upper hand. She had no idea what was coming. I didn't go home that night. Couldn't. Sleeping in the same bed where Jessica had curled up next to me, whispering lies into my ear, pretending to love me while sneaking around with another man? No, that wasn't going to happen. So I checked into a hotel instead. It wasn't fancy, Just a quiet place across town where I could sit in silence and figure out my next move. Jessica called me once. I let it ring. She didn't leave a voicemail, didn't text, and that told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't panicking. She wasn't rushing home to fix this. She was waiting, calculating, probably sitting next to him, already crafting whatever pathetic excuse she thought would keep me on her hook. She didn't know I was already gone. By morning, I had a plan. Step 1. Make sure she had no way to twist this in her favor. I called our bank and transferred half of our joint savings into my personal account. Not all of it, I wasn't trying to be petty, but enough that if she decided to get vindictive, she wouldn't be able to financially screw me over. Step 2. Make her squirm. I went home around noon, walked through the front door like I wasn't carrying the weight of betrayal on my shoulders. Jessica was in the kitchen, pretending to be busy, pretending like she wasn't waiting for me to come home so she could spin whatever version of the truth suited her best. The second she saw me, she put on a show. "Ryan!" she gasped, eyes wide, like she hadn't been able to sleep all night worrying about me. "Where were you?" I called. I held up a hand. "Don't." She shut her mouth so fast her teeth clicked. For the first time in our entire relationship, she looked nervous. Good. I set my keys on the counter and leaned against it, watching her. "So, how was your work dinner?" Her face flickered just for a second. Then she forced a laugh, brushing her hair behind her ear. "Ryan, look, I know what it looked like last night, but I swear." I pulled out my phone and hit play. The video of her and her lover lit up the screen. The way she touched him, the way she smiled at him like he was her entire world, the way she kissed him with the same lips she used to tell me she loved me. Jessica's face drained of color. "Ryan, please just let me save it." I cut in, my voice cold. "You were saying?" She swallowed hard, her hands gripping the counter like she needed something solid to hold on to. And then, like the absolute coward she was, she tried the one thing she had left. "Okay," she said, voice small. "I messed up, but we can talk about this. I don't want to lose you." I laughed, because for the first time in this entire nightmare, I saw her clearly. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't heartbroken. She was just scared of losing the comfort of the life I built for her. "You already lost me," I said simply. "I'll be moving out this week." She stiffened. "Ryan, come on. It was a mistake." I raised an eyebrow. "Which time?" She flinched. I didn't let her finish. I turned and walked away. Jessica screamed my name, but I didn't stop. I went upstairs, grabbed a duffel bag, and started packing. And for every shirt, every pair of jeans, every single thing I shoved into that bag, I felt lighter. She wanted to play games? Fine. But I wasn't going to be her pawn anymore. Let's see how she handled losing. Jessica didn't like losing. That became painfully obvious about 5 minutes after I started packing. I was in our bedroom, throwing clothes into a duffel, when she stormed in after me. No more fake tears. No more soft voice begging me to talk things through. She was pissed. "Are you serious right now?" she snapped, arms crossed. "You're really just going to walk out?" I didn't even look at her. "Yep, Ryan." Her voice dropped, sharper now. "We've been together for years. You don't just throw that away over." I cut her off, still not looking at her. "Over what? You sneaking off to motels with some guy behind my back? Lying to me? Using your best friend as an alibi?" Silence. She hadn't expected me to know that last part. Jessica shifted on her feet. "Ashley told you?" That actually made me pause. I turned to face her, tilting my head. "That's what you're worried about? Not the fact that you got caught. Just who told me?" She swallowed hard. "Ryan,
No, interrupta.
You know what? Let's make this easy. I'll ask one question. You give me a real answer." Jessica hesitated but nodded. I met her eyes. "How long?" She didn't even blink before lying. "It was a one-time thing." I laughed. I actually laughed in her face. "You really can't help yourself? Can you?" Her jaw clenched. "Ryan, You're done," I said, my voice colder than I thought possible. "I'm leaving. I don't care where you go, what you do, or what story you tell people. We're done." Jessica panicked then. I saw it in her eyes. Saw the exact second she realized I was serious. that I wasn't coming back from this, that she had lost control. And Jessica? She hated losing control. "You're being dramatic," she said, voice low, biting. "People work through things like this. It doesn't have to be." "Stop." I exhaled slowly, shaking my head. "Just stop." She went quiet, watching as I zipped up my bag. Then she tried one last thing. "If you walk out that door," she said, voice trembling with something that wasn't sadness. It was anger. "You'll regret it. You really think you can just leave me and everything we built together? You think it's that simple?" I didn't even hesitate. "Yes." And then I slung the bag over my shoulder and walked right past her. She didn't try to stop me, didn't grab my arm, didn't throw herself in front of the door. She just stood there, breathing hard, shaking with rage. Jessica wasn't sad. She wasn't heartbroken. She was furious that she didn't win. I stepped outside, into the cold air, into my new life. And as I closed the door behind me, I heard the loud, violent crash of something breaking inside. Jessica had finally realized she was alone. I didn't hear from Jessica for 2 days. Not a call, not a text, nothing. I half expected her to show up at my hotel, pretending to be sorry, begging me to come home. But she didn't. And that only meant one thing: she was planning something. Jessica never accepted losing. And sure enough, on the 3rd day, she struck. It started with my credit card. I tried to grab coffee on my way to work. Declined. Tried again, same thing. Confused, I checked my banking app. My account was frozen. That's when I knew. Jessica had done something. I called the bank, and after 30 minutes on hold, I finally got through to a rep who explained the situation in the most painfully neutral tone possible. "There's been a reported dispute regarding joint account ownership, sir. A hold has been placed while it's being reviewed." I almost laughed. Of course she would do this. She couldn't keep me, so she tried to cripple me. I took a slow breath, my fingers tightening around my phone. "And who exactly reported this dispute?" A pause. Then, reluctantly, "Your wife, ex-wife." I clenched my jaw. "And how long does this review take?" "Typically up to 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Jessica had cut off my access to my own money for 2 damn weeks, just to make my life hell. I hung up and immediately called her. She picked up on the 2nd ring. "Ryan," she answered, voice sugar sweet, like she hadn't just screwed me over. "I was wondering when you'd call." "You froze my account," I said flatly. She hummed like she was thinking. "Oh, did I?" I closed my eyes, forcing myself to stay calm. "Reverse it. Now." She actually had the audacity to laugh. "Oh, babe," she said, fake sympathy dripping from every word. "You made your choice, remember? You walked out. You don't get to act like you're entitled to everything now. Entitled to my own money." "Jessica," I said, voice dangerously low. "I swear to God." She cut me off. "You know, Ryan, you can be really dramatic when you don't get your way." I took a slow breath. "And what exactly is your plan here?" "Hold my money hostage until I come crawling back." Silence. Then smugly, she said, "You're not as smart as you think you are, babe." That was it. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I just smiled to myself and said, "We'll see." Then I hung up. Jessica thought she could screw me over. Thought she could take one last piece of control. She had no idea what I was about to do next. Jessica thought she won. She thought freezing my account would put me in a corner, force me to play her game. She had no idea I already had a way out. The second I hung up, I called my lawyer. Yeah, my lawyer. Because unlike Jessica, I didn't act on impulse, I planned. And 2 days ago, after leaving the house, I had already set up a meeting with a divorce attorney. I didn't tell her, didn't warn her. I let her think she had all the power while I was quietly taking every piece of it away. When my lawyer picked up, I got straight to the point. "My wife froze our joint account," I said. "What can I do?" A pause. Then, calmly, "Do you have proof that half of those funds belong to you?" "Yes." "Then we'll file an emergency motion. She can't legally cut you off like that." Exactly what I needed to hear. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly. "And the divorce? I'll have the paperwork ready by tomorrow morning." "Perfect." Jessica wanted a war? Fine. I was ready. But I wasn't just going to hit her with legal action. No, no, no. That was too predictable. I wanted her to feel this, to suffer like I had. So I made another call. Ashley. She picked up instantly. Ryan. I need a favor, I said. Pause. What kind of favor? The kind that ruins Jessica's life. Ashley was quiet for a second. Then, to my absolute satisfaction, she laughed. Oh, I'm in. Good. Because Jessica had spent months lying, sneaking around, treating me like I was nothing. She thought she could manipulate, deceive, and walk away without consequence. She was about to learn exactly how wrong she was. Jessica had no idea what was coming. While she sat in our house, probably smirking to herself about freezing my account, I was tearing her world apart, piece by piece. Ashley wasted no time. The moment I told her I wanted revenge, she got to work. Step 1. Destroy Jessica's social life. Ashley knew every single one of Jessica's friends. And since she was still technically in their group chats, she started dropping little truth bombs. Not outright exposing her at first, no, that was too easy. She started subtly planting seeds. Kind of funny how Jess used me as her excuse to cheat. Huh? Wild how she lied to all of us for months. Did you guys know Ryan caught her at a motel with another man? One by one, Jessica's friends turned on her. Some of them messaged me to apologize for not seeing it sooner. Others completely ghosted her. The same people she used to go out with, gossip with, party with, gone. Step 2. Wreck her reputation at work. Jessica's company had strict policies about personal conduct. And as it turned out, Ashley had some very interesting information. Like the fact that Jessica had been sneaking out of work hours early to meet up with her lover. So Ashley anonymously sent an email to Jessica's boss. With proof, texts, photos, screenshots of messages where Jessica bragged about ditching work early for some fun. By the next morning, HR was involved. Step 3. Make sure her affair crumbled. Jessica's lover, let's call him Daniel, had a girlfriend. Yeah. He wasn't single. And thanks to some very creative social media digging, Ashley and I found her. I sent her the video, the one of Jessica and Daniel outside the motel, wrapped around each other like two disgusting, lying snakes.
No explanation.
No context. Just a simple message. Figured you should know. She saw it. She read it. And within minutes, she replied, "Thank you." I didn't need to say anything else. She would handle the rest. And just like that, Jessica's entire world started to collapse. Her friends? Gone. Her job? Hanging by a thread. Her relationship? Dead on arrival. And the best part? She didn't even know it was me. Yet I waited. Not because I was second-guessing anything, oh no, this was long overdue. But because I wanted Jessica to feel it. To sit in the wreckage of her own making, completely unaware of how deep the destruction ran. And then, finally, she called me. It was almost poetic. 3 days after she froze my bank account, she was the one who needed me. I let the phone ring twice before answering, keeping my voice calm. Hello. Silence. Then Jessica's voice shaking. Ryan, what did you do? I smirked. There it is. I'm not sure what you mean, I said smoothly. Her breath came fast and uneven. Don't play dumb. My job, my boss called me in today and said they got an anonymous complaint. They're doing a full review of my hours. Ryan. And Daniel. His girlfriend dumped him. She sent him a freaking video of us. I stayed silent, letting her panic. And Ashley. She's turning everyone against me. Even my friends aren't answering my texts. She was unraveling. Good. Ryan. She pleaded, voice raw now. If this is you, please. Just stop. I leaned back, pretending to think. Stop? Like how you stopped when I begged you to be honest. Like how you stopped when you looked me in the eyes and lied. Like how you stopped when you snuck off to motels while I sat at home believing in you. Silence. She sniffled. I never wanted this. I laughed, dark and sharp. Neither did I, Jessica. But actions have consequences. And now you get to live with yours. She let out a choked sob. I didn't feel bad. Not even a little. Because for the first time since this all began, I was free. She couldn't manipulate me anymore. She couldn't gaslight me, twist the narrative, play the victim. She lost. And I walked away without looking back.